Senator, nice to see you, sir.
Greta, nice to see you.
The United States Secretary of Treasury, Mr. Geithner, says it would be irresponsible for Congress to adjourn this year without extending Bush-era tax cuts for the middle class. Your thought on that?
Well, I think he's right, but he's incomplete. I'd give him an incomplete as a grade. It'd be irresponsible for us to adjourn this year without extending the current tax rates for anybody, because it makes no sense to raise taxes on anybody in the middle of a recession. We've got 2 or 3 weeks in which to do that. The president's former budget advisor suggested that. Republicans are for that, so let's do it.
All right, I'll give you an easy one. I take it that you've never stood in the way of the issue coming to the floor.
I don't think I have.
Right.
But I think what we want to do in the various procedures we have here is to say the issue that we want to come to the floor is let's keep tax rates at the same levels for everybody, and we'll use whatever tools we have to see that we do that.
Well, what's stopping it from coming to the floor?
Well, the majority leader has to bring it up. There's only one person who can set the agenda in the Senate, and that's Harry Reid.
All right, so it was an easy one. You guys, so it isn't. So while you might have gotten your point across to Senator Reid, the reason it's not on the floor is because the Democrats at least controlled this part of the deal.
Well, they control that, but he's bringing up the DREAM Act. He's bringing up don't ask, don't tell. He's got a long list of things he's going to bring up. It's as if he never heard a word in this election. I mean, the American people said private sector jobs, reduce the debt. The best way to keep private sector jobs alive in this country is to not raise taxes on people who are creating those jobs.
All right, now, the only way things get done in Washington is there's a little give and take on both sides. What are you willing to give on this issue of taxes?
That they not be permanent. I think most Republicans have said we want to keep the current tax rates at the same levels permanently. But if the president wants to do it for some period of time, we're open to that.
And are there enough votes there for that to get through, that there are enough Republicans who agree to that?
Well, it's too early to say. My sense is there's likely to be, but I think the president and the Republican leaders could sit down and talk about that. If he wants to take the position that his former budget director took, let's do it for 2 years. That'd be a place to start.
Do you have any idea how, let me use the word annoying, it is the American people that everyone has known that these tax cuts would expire as of 2001 or 2003, and now we're up to the line, and it doesn't seem to get to the floor, get worked on, voted, and an agreement so that the American people can plan their finances?
Well, I have a good idea how annoyed they are, and I saw it in the election results. I mean, Republicans have been saying all year, let's keep the tax rates where they are. Let's don't raise them at least during a downturn. So it's up to the Democratic majority and the president to say, we agree with you, let's do it.
Why didn't it come up before now? Why didn't it come up 3 months ago or 4 months ago?
Well, we had a Democratic president, we had big Democratic majorities in the House and Senate, and they set the agenda. Now we've had an election and we've got a Republican House after January. But we still have a Democratic president and we'll still have a Democratic Senate. So the answer is the Democrats want the taxes to go up.
Who's shown the most leadership on the Democratic side of the aisle on addressing this issue and getting it to a decision?
That's hard to say. It hasn't come to a decision, and so it certainly wouldn't be the Speaker, it certainly wouldn't be Harry Reid, and it certainly wouldn't be the President. I guess it would be Peter Orszag, who was the budget director, who's now retired from that job, who suggested that the current levels of taxation should be extended at least for 2 years, because everybody knows, he said, that if you raise taxes in the middle of an economy, it costs jobs.
All right, now, in terms of your wanting to not raise taxes on the wealthiest, is that a political philosophy in terms of that, or is that an economic position based on what it would do to the economy, or is it a combination of both?
Well, it's just jobs. I mean, the single biggest thing let's elevate this just a little bit. What we need to do as a country, to be a great country, is one, to make it easier and cheaper to create private sector jobs, and two, do something about the debt. Now, if you want to make it easier and cheaper to create private sector jobs, you don't take tax dollars away from the job creators at a time they might be using it to create jobs.
So it's an economic decision for you?
Yeah, it's a jobs decision. I mean,
or
it's a jobs decision.
All right, one question on earmarks. What's your position on earmarks moratorium?
I'm for it, and the Republican conference adopted it. The president said he's for it. House Republicans have said they're for it, and we've asked the Senate Democrats to join us. We don't want to mislead people into thinking that's going to solve the budget problems. Doesn't save much money, but it's become a symbol of waste. And if we hadn't heard that in the election, we'd be guilty of what the president is guilty of and not hearing what people are saying about taxes.
All right, is this binding, this earmark decision, or is it something that you could all vote on or agree on, and then down, let's say 6 months down the road, change things?
Well, no, it's not binding. Republican caucus can't bind me or the senator from Kansas. We're hired by the people of Kansas and Tennessee. But what is binding is when we go to the floor of the Senate and Senator Coburn offers this amendment and I vote for it and it passes, that's binding, and that's what I intend to do.
Senator, nice to see you. Welcome back to Washington.
Thank you, Greta.
Next, did you hear what Senator